Welcome back, everybody. It's Zach here, bringing us another fantasy football video. And this one, I'm going to be going over 5 running backs. I think it's the potential to be really, classified as league-winning caliber players come the end of the season. I just put out a video going over 5 wide receivers that I think fit the bill there as well. So hopefully you guys like this video. I'm going to be doing this video for the quarterback and tight end position next as well. So if you have any comments, disagreements, players you like a lot that I didn't mention, feel free to let me know in the comments below. I love interacting with you guys there. It's a lot of fun. And typically here, I'm trying to avoid guys that are being drafted in like the first round because, if you draft Saquon Barkley to be the running back one and then he finishes as the RB1, unless he laps the field kind of like he did last season, he's not really a league winner. So I didn't want to completely omit those guys from league winner status or potential, but it's just tough because it's tough to predict that kind of true outlier season as to where these guys I think are guys that are being significantly underdrafted compared to what their upside is, and they are guys that I think really could be guys that maybe outperform their ADP by 10, 15 spots and crack the top 10 that are maybe RB2s and end up being really reliable, running back ones for you guys that can really make a difference for you guys and help you guys win your leagues. So, I'm rambling here, so I'll just get into it. Let's get started. So starting things off with kind of a controversial player. It seems like there's a really wide range in terms of how people view RJ Harvey, but I do personally view RJ Harvey as a guy that could be a massive steal in fantasy drafts this season, and it certainly has the potential to be a guy that we look back on, and it was just an obvious league-winning draft pick. I'm personally going to have a lot of him. I think he's a really talented player. He's extremely explosive. He's just far and away the best running back on this roster. The addition of J.K. Dobbins does not scare me at all from week 3 on last season, so if you remember last year, he had 2 weeks to start the year, 10 carries each week with 150 yards, so just incredibly efficient, broke off a couple long touchdowns. From that point forward, J.K. Dobbins only averaged 3.8 yards per carry. If you watched him play, he just didn't really pass the eye test at that point, got hurt a couple times. It just didn't look like the same explosive level of player that he was early on in the year, and as much as I love J.K. Dobbins, it's a really fun story. I'm rooting for him coming off of the Achilles injury, often a career ender, so you certainly would love to see a guy come back and really return to true form at that point, but it's just tough to expect that out of J.K. Dobbins at this point. He's had plenty of time to come back at this point and just didn't really show me at the end of the last year that he was good enough to scare us, and the NFL thought so too. The Chargers let him go and preferred Najee Harris. They ended up signing really similar contracts, and the Chargers thought that Najee Harris was a better bet, and Najee Harris is by no means a special player, so I think RJ Harvey is clearly the best running back on this roster. If you listen to Sean Payton talk about him, they really do value him as a guy that can catch the ball out of the backfield, which is incredibly valuable in Denver. Denver targeted the running back on 21.4% of their targets last season. That's good for 5th in the NFL. That's an incredibly high target share, and that's not just last year. It goes back to Sean Payton's time in New Orleans. You had Alvin Kamara, you had Reggie Bush, Mark Ingram, all kinds of players that were really just incredibly involved as pass catchers, and RJ Harvey is just going to be the next guy to step in there. I mean, you look back at the guys that did this last year, Javonte Williams, near the top of the NFL in targets at the running back position, and Javonte Williams was absolutely horrendous last year. RJ Harvey is just so much better than that. J.K. Dobbins will maybe sprinkle in for 10 to 12 touches a game, but RJ Harvey is going to get the valuable ones. He's going to get the pass catching work. He's going to get the goal line work, I think, when it's all said and done. And he's just a guy that I'm really excited about. You can get him in the 5th round, sometimes the 6th round, going as the RB20 off boards, and I think there's a legitimate shot that he finishes as a top 10 guy this season. Probably has the best odds of any rookie outside of Ashton Genty on my mind to do that. So he's not being drafted like that either. You've got Amari Hampton going ahead of him. I think I kind of prefer RJ Harvey. Najee Harris is more competition for touches than J.K. Dobbins is in my mind. So I think RJ Harvey has a more clear path towards being incredibly important to this offense. And I'm just super stoked about Harvey. I'm going to have a lot of him. I think this offense is going to really use him a lot, and he's going to be a guy that's going to be a huge difference maker for the offense as well. So I want a lot of RJ Harvey this season. I hope you guys do too. Moving on to maybe a less exciting player, certainly a lesser talent, but DeAndre Swift is a guy that I think is incredibly undervalued right now. And I know it's gross. He's not a guy that at this point any of us really think is a high-end player, but he's going to dominate the high-value touches and what should be a really good to at least decent offense in Chicago. It's tough to really say Chicago is going to come out and be an elite offense, but they're certainly going to improve from last season. And you're looking at the backfield here. It's DeAndre Swift. It's Roschon Johnson. There were rumors of Nick Chubb potentially signing there, but he signed in Houston. So there really is no competition for touches in this offense. And DeAndre Swift actually put up a kind of quietly good season last year. He finishes the RB21 last year. Each of the last 3 seasons, he's finished as the RB15, 24, and 21. So he's had top 24 finishes each of the last 3 years. He's currently being drafted as the RB 28. So for whatever reason, the market is projecting him to have the worst year of his career. And an offense that's certainly improved from what it was last season. We've already seen DeAndre Swift operate in a Ben Johnson offense. It was a situation where Swift wasn't necessarily hyper involved in terms of like touches. They gave a lot of touches to Jamal Williams that year. If you remember the year Jamal Williams had like 21 rushing touchdowns. But Roschon Johnson is not as good as Jamal Williams was at that point in time. DeAndre Swift is certainly going to be the pass catcher in this offense. And I think this is a situation here in Chicago where we could just see the Bears just really air it out. Ben Johnson is a smart head coach. He's a guy that's going to want to cater his offense to the personnel. And this is not an offense that you look at and would say, hey, they've got to run the ball 20, 25 times a game. They're going to want to air it out a lot. And I think DeAndre Swift is going to be a really integral part of the offense in doing that. And really the easy thing here is just, again, DeAndre Swift, RB21 last season, one of, if not the worst offenses in the NFL. This should be a mid-tier offense this year. There's no reason that DeAndre Swift can't be a top 15 running back in that. And if things really break right, if they give him that full workhorse role, which he's had a tough time kind of staying healthy, at least that's the narrative, but go look at the games played in his career. He's played like 14, 15, 16, 12, 14 games over the course of his entire career. DeAndre Swift doesn't really miss a ton of time. He's actually been more durable than I think people give him credit for. So there's just really no reason that for DeAndre Swift to be drafted outside of the top 24 running backs. I think he's a really safe low-end running back too. And if things break right for him, there's clear upside for him to be a top 10, 15 guy this year. So I've got a lot of DeAndre Swift so far in the best ball drafts I've been doing. And I think DeAndre Swift is a guy that, he's a better player than people give him credit for. And he's going to be in a better situation than he was last year. So he should certainly outperform what he did last year as well. So I know I mentioned that RJ Harvey was going to be probably, in my mind, my favorite rookie running back outside of Ashton Jeanty this season, but that does not mean I have anything against Amari Hampton. I think Amari Hampton is an incredibly talented player. I think in general, it's just a really smart bet to draft rookie running backs early in the draft as well. These are guys that just historically, you end up seeing 2 to 4 finish inside the top 24 every season. This is going to be a year, I think, where we see a lot more than 2. I think RJ Harvey, Amari Hampton, Ashton Jeanty, I think Caleb Johnson's got a shot to do that. I would think Cam Scadabo's got an outside shot. Ashton Judkins. There's a lot of really high-end talents at the running back position that have a shot to finish in the top 24 this year, and I really want a lot of pieces of this rookie class for the running back position here. And the fact of the matter is Amari Hampton is immediately the number 1 running back in this Chargers offense, at least from a talent standpoint. I know Najee Harris, he's a veteran, is a guy that they're going to like, and he's going to get a lot of touches, and it's going to be annoying. He's very durable. You're not going to see Najee go out and miss the season and open up an opportunity here for Hampton to just be the RB1 by fall because of injury. But the Chargers want to run the ball as much as anybody else in the league this season. They ran the ball near the highest rate in the NFL. They ran at the 10th highest rate in the NFL back to last season, 45.5% of plays, and that was despite not being able to do it well at all. I already mentioned that J.K. Dobbins only averaged 3.8 yards per carry last year. If you think about it, he was actually the best option they had. Gus Edwards was horrendous last year. This is a team, again, they ran the ball at the 10th highest rate in the NFL despite not being able to do it at all. So there's a lot of opportunity here for this team to really try and lean on this running game if it's effective, and there's no reason it shouldn't be with 2 professional, really good running backs in this backfield between Hampton and Najee. Again, Najee's going to be annoying, but every year we hear that narrative. You've got some really high-end stud rookie running back that comes in, and there's just talk in the fantasy community, and I've been guilty of it myself, but everyone's just worried about the guy that was already there the year before just being the reason that guy doesn't take on a lot of snaps. And I can give you tons of examples. Look back a few years. You had Michael Carter, who was supposedly going to take snaps away from Breece Hall in his rookie year. That didn't happen. If you remember when Jonathan Taylor came into the league, you had Naheem Hines and Jordan Wilkins there. People were worried they were going to keep JT off the field. Again, maybe it took a few weeks there, but JT certainly just established himself because he's clearly the better player. Again, you had Tyler Algier and Bijan. People were worried that Algier was going to keep Bijan from being a workhorse. That didn't happen. David Montgomery, Jahmyr Gibbs, same thing. It happens every year. You've got these stud running backs that people are worried about not getting the or touch shares they should. And in general, talent rises to the top in the NFL. Amari Hampton is the best player on this roster at the running back position. He's going to be the running back 1 by the end of the season. And even beyond that, there is room for 2 running backs to be great in what should be an elite offense. And I just don't even think we have to wait long before Amari Hampton is dominating the touch share. I just mentioned David Montgomery, Jahmyr Gibbs. There are plenty of offenses in the NFL where you have 2 running backs put up high-end fantasy numbers. And I think you could see a season where that can happen in Los Angeles here because they're just going to run the ball so much. They're going to be a really good offense. There's going to be a lot of touchdown opportunity. I think there's potential here for both those guys to finish as top 24 guys, but Hampton certainly being the top guy there. Look back to last season, Najee Harris had a 50.4% snap share. That's honestly not great, given the fact that his only competition for touches was Jalen Warren. I like Jalen Warren, but Amari Hampton is so much better than Jalen Warren is. So it's fair to say that we should expect Najee's snap share to decrease this year. Najee's not going to play half the snaps this season. Hampton is the running back one. And again, Amari Hampton, RB16 by ADP right now. I'm not necessarily projecting him to be a top 5 running back, but he was a first-round draft pick in the NFL for a reason. If things break right, if they truly do just give him a workhorse role, top 5 is in his range of outcomes. Najee injury could happen there, and even if it doesn't, I think you could certainly be looking at Hampton as a guy that finishes inside the top 15 for sure, and top 10 is certainly in the range of outcomes if he just can find the end zone a few times here. This is the highest drafted player I'm going to mention here, but it's actually going to be Jonathan Taylor, and I just think that this is maybe the year that we finally get that elite Jonathan Taylor again. I know you think back to 2021, I believe, when Jonathan Taylor was the running back one in fantasy. We've had him deal with injuries, just general ineptitude across the whole Colts offense, and the whole organization in general has sort of kept him from being the same caliber of fantasy asset that he was that year. But at RB8 off the board, that's more than fair from an ADP standpoint. He finished as the RB5 in points per game last season, and if you just think about that, that's incredibly impressive in an offense that didn't throw the ball to the running back position, and an offense that honestly didn't score a whole lot. So you had a horrible offense that didn't hyper-target the running backs, and then Jonathan Taylor was still a top 5 running back in points per game. He's going as the RB8 right now, and Daniel Jones doesn't target the running back as much as some quarterbacks do, but he does target the running back more frequently than Anthony Richardson, especially post that injury he had, the ACL tear. And again, I don't love looking at fantasy schedules, especially this early in the season. We don't really know what teams are going to look like, but to constitute yourself as a league winner, you're going to have to put up some big numbers in the fantasy playoffs. And if we look at this playoff schedule, you've got Seattle, one of the worst run defenses in the NFL from last season. San Francisco, believe it or not, they were a horrendous run defense last season. And then Jacksonville, I believe, was the worst run defense in the NFL last season. And Jonathan Taylor always eats Jacksonville alive. So that's a fantastic playoff schedule. Jonathan Taylor could easily go for 150 and 2 in the fantasy championships. And we could be looking at him as a guy that was the reason you won your league. He was running back 2 in the fantasy playoffs last season, so he ended hot. This offense, I think, is trending up just because it really can't go down from a quarterback play standpoint. Jonathan Taylor is still in his prime. I like him a lot. You can get him at like the end of round 2 right now, and if he's your RB1 or even your RB2, I feel more than confident in that. I think Jonathan Taylor could, be a dark horse candidate to finish as like a top 3 or even as the RB1 this season. It's certainly in his range of outcomes. And the last running back I'm going to talk about here is going to be Chuba Hubbard. The thing here is just for whatever reason, people just don't seem to give Chuba Hubbard the respect that he deserves. He was the RB12 from week 3 onward last season. He finished the season as the RB13 in points per game. And there's really no competition for touches in this offense. I know they added Rico Dowdle, added Trevor Etienne. Neither one of those guys are legitimate threats here. Rico Dowdle, an undrafted guy, had a nice season for Dallas last season, but he's not someone the NFL viewed as like a high caliber player, or he'd have gotten more money and been a starter somewhere. And then Trevor Etienne, 4th round draft pick, maybe looks more promising than his brother Travis right now, but that's another video. But the reality here is there's no reason for Chuba Hubbard to not be a workhorse running back in this offense. They gave him a ton of money. They clearly love him. And what if this offense just gets better? Bryce Young looked to be taking a step forward last season. I was kind of really out on him heading into last year, but he showed me a lot last year when I watched him on film. I really do believe that Bryce Young is a franchise quarterback. I don't think he's a superstar, but I think they found their guy as a guy that can be like a fringe, like top 15 kind of quarterback in the NFL, and that makes this offense viable going forward. You add in Tedroa McMillan, a legitimate wide receiver 1 in the offense, and Adam Thielen's still there, Legette's still there, Jalen Coco flashed last season. You've got Jatavian Sanders. I think there are pieces in this offense, and this offense should be a lot better, I think, than people are giving them credit for. And again, he's going to have true workhorse volume. He's got to catch the ball a lot. He's going to be used near the goal line. I think a low-end running back 1 finish is extremely feasible. He's currently being drafted as the RB19 off boards. That's just way too low as for a guy that finished effectively as an RB1 last season. And if anything, in my mind, his situation improved because the offense should get better. So I like Chuba a lot. He's a really good player. I think there's no name value there, so people don't want to draft him as like a top 15 kind of guy. But I think he deserves to be, and he's a guy that I'd love to have as my RB2 on my roster because I think he can be just a great value and potentially squeak into that top 10 and really call himself a league winner for you guys this year. That'll do it for the league-winning running backs that I have this season. I'll try and follow up on this video. I'll try and touch on one maybe like each month so that I can refresh these because, of course, opinions, we're going to get a lot of information throughout training camp and all that. So make sure you guys get more information. If you guys have any questions, comments, disagreements, guys I didn't bring up that you think I should have, let me know in the comments. I'd love interacting with you guys there. It's just so much fun here. The next video, I'll be going over league-winning quarterbacks. I'll touch on 5 guys there, so stay tuned for that one. Hopefully you guys liked it. If you did make it this far in the video, please do give it a thumbs up, and if for whatever reason you're not subscribed yet, I highly recommend you do. There will be 3 videos a week at least throughout the entire course of the rest of the offseason. There will be even more than that during the regular season. I'm going to be here all year long. We're going to win some championships together, and it's going to be a lot of fun. So I really appreciate you guys. It's been a lot of fun. We got a lot more stuff coming, so I'll talk to you guys later. Peace. Thank you guys for watching. If you haven't already, please be sure to subscribe to the channel, like the video, check out these other videos here if you haven't. If you want more content, please feel free to follow me on Twitter at RealSteelFFB. I'll be more active on there as the season goes on. Thanks. Catch you later.